None of that is what he's on trial for. The reason why they brought that video in is because she's saying that he was beating her up and dragging her back in the room to smash this big 7-foot black guy and do devious things with him. And there was another guy in the room. So there was, 3 guys, including Diddy, but she just mentioned this big 7-foot guy. And my first mind went like, damn, how many freaky 7-foot guys are there? They got to be Dwight or Shaq. and
what if it was Joker?
Oh yeah. They didn't say the race, right? So it could be. And but seriously, so that's like kidnapping. That's all of this, whatever they're trying to put him on. That is that, if that is accurate. Now Diddy's team is saying that if you look at the video, she's holding a phone, and they were arguing about something like she was having sex with another guy or something, and he didn't like that. We have the Diddy trial going on here, and we've had a couple of witnesses going up, and the star witness, and Cassie, she took the stand, and there was a lot of things to say. And my overall takeaway from this is, and I've mentioned this one time on the show, but just to give a tiny bit more details here. Like when I was younger, a younger guy in late teens, early 20s, I would, always say that I'm a freak. One thing, Pink, that you don't know, you don't know this, Pink.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you probably know that I used to rap or whatever.
I know that.
But you never heard my music. And I used to take it like really serious. I had paid shows, first of all of that. So I did, what I'm saying?
I heard one song.
And
like Uncle Luke type stuff?
No, not Uncle Luke style. But still very, very down south sound. And one song I had was Certified Freak. That was my single I had with me and Carvis. It was on the radio, in Daytona and things like that. It did pretty good. But like that's my point to this whole thing, is that's how much I thought of myself as a freak. Until I thought of that all the way up until I actually came across a freak. And I was like, oh, I'm not a freak. I understand now. But all of this stuff I'm hearing in this Diddy trial, and you heard some small things leading up into it, the baby oil, and you hear stories, and you see you look at the Meek Mill videos differently, and you see all of this stuff. But all of that stuff is baseline. Like, that's like, okay, that is freakish. That's a freak thing. But the details, like the one detail about that Cassie is saying about the male escort, how they would, have sexual relations right there in front of Diddy while he's watching. He would finish, he would finish on her. Then she would take his magic juice and then rub it on Diddy's nipples. That is different, man. That is so different.
Did they there's no camera in the courtroom, right?
Right.
So we can't even see the expression on his face when she's giving this testimony.
No,
see if
they have people doing these.
Apparently
he's in there reading the Bible.
Yeah.
He's what?
What a bullshit move that is.
He's in there reading the Bible.
Like, Lord, help me from jumping across this table and jumping at that bitch's ass again.
And the people that they're drawing what's going on in there, and they'll have this is one facial expression he has. They have one where he's like smiling, laughing. Then they have others where he's just now reading the Bible.
Is she
and that's
pregnant?
what they got that from. She is pregnant.
She better be pregnant.
They had to move her up in the in the list of witnesses because she's due very soon.
The father of that kid's having some regrets.
Her husband.
Yeah.
So I wonder if
he's like, man,
if he told her, if she told him beforehand, about all of these details.
Well, she wrote a book, apparently.
But it didn't have all of these details in there. It didn't have all of these details. And the book mostly went over the fighting, the beating her up, and dragging her all over the place. And so that leads to to get you guys' take on this. My overall thing is Diddy, a freak monster, or is he a criminal that belongs behind bars? Now, and I'm talking about pertaining to this case, because one thing, and Pink and I were talking off camera, is, this particular case is about, sex, the trafficking and sexual whatever. Like, help me out here. Not assault.
Abuse.
Trafficking.
Sexual abuse.
It's about trafficking. It's not sexual abuse, trafficking, but it's not about
domestic violence.
It's not about domestic violence or anything like that. Those things he is guilty of, and their opening statement said all of that. Like, yes, he's a bad man, and yes, he's a violent guy and all of that. But this trial isn't for that. I found that interesting. It's only for the freak stuff. I mean, really, that's really what it's for.
Are they charging? Because we were talking about this.
Yeah,
and
what
I was
is
trying to figure out
what
are the elements that they're trying to?
Like
prove?
I said, yeah. So yeah, sex trafficking I know for sure is one, and the kidnapping and all the different things that surround that. Like, for example, the big video that they're going to show probably tomorrow but we've all seen, the hotel footage where he was beating her up and dragging her out. Like, none of that is what he's on trial for. What the reason why they brought that video in is because she's saying that he was beating her up and dragging her back in the room to smash this big 7-foot black guy and do devious things with him. And there was another guy in the room. So there was, 3 guys, including Diddy, but she just mentioned this big 7-foot guy. And my first mind went like, damn, how many freaky 7-foot guys are there? They got to be Dwight or Shaq. and
what if it was Joker?
Oh yeah. They didn't say the race, right? So it could be. And but seriously, and that, so that's like kidnapping. That's all of this, whatever they're trying to put him on. That is that, if that is accurate. Now Diddy's team is saying that if you look at the video, she's holding a phone, and they were arguing about something like she was having sex with another guy or something, and he didn't like that, and that's the reason why, because they found something on her phone. So that's the reason why the fight was over. So that's 2 completely different stories about the video we've all seen.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But it's just I feel like it's and I haven't really been watching a lot of it because I just there's so much other stuff going on, but I feel like it's just salacious, and they're just doing this because they want to ensure that the jury is so disgusted that no matter the fact that they're not proving the elements, they're just so horrified by what's going on, they will find him guilty, I guess. But I just don't understand what, and we were just talking about this, I don't understand what exactly is the point. I mean, clearly he's guilty of domestic violence. Clearly he's guilty of just engaging in some really horrific stuff. But can they prove that he drugged anyone? Like, are we going to see more people who can say that they actually saw him drug or drop some, something in the Kool-Aid or whatever?
Yeah,
that's
we haven't heard
more,
that yet.
That's what I would want to know about. Versus we know what happened with her. She got $20 million or $30 million, whatever. But, and I'm not saying that should be, she should be grateful for that and not have her day in court. But I just feel like it's ridiculous. Like, this is something that.
First of all, and also, what a raw deal for Diddy that he paid all of that money and still got out.
Exactly.
And she's still on the stand and all of that. Like, you might as well kept all of your millions, because you're definitely going to need it now.
Yeah, why did you pay?
And just take whatever was coming to you.
Yeah.
That was bad legal advice.
Well, there were some people that say, like, the fact that he agreed to pay so quickly, it kind of like moved it up on the radar for prosecutors.
Right.
They're thinking, well, what the hell is this guy hiding that he's going to pay this level of money in, like, basically the day after you file a complaint?
Usually when those guys pay,
he could become president one day.
Usually when those guys pay all that money, like, you never hear a peep again, and it's over.
Right.
Like, it's just over. Like Deshaun Watson, it's over. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like it's a RICO case, so there's like, I mean, among the elements, you've got to prove, I think, a series of crimes that occurred over a period of time. And then within that, you'd have to prove the elements of each specific crime. And so one of the ones, I don't know the elements specifically, but one of the things they may be able to hang their hat on, but it is like the sex trafficking, which literally could be like, bringing sex workers over state lines or flying them to wherever you're having the party. And that alone could satisfy the elements of trafficking. But again, that's not like, there's a part of this where you could look at it through the lens of a freaky guy and just be, yeah, this guy's into some wild stuff. He has some money to make it happen. Escorts are showing up doing what they're paid to do, and the people who are attending, who aren't escorts, are doing what they want to do. Like, what is the harm in all this? And it becomes a fair question, because there's, other than the physical assault on Cassie, there's nothing I've heard in the last 2 days that's, to me, like, really criminal. That when you hear it, you're like, oh man, throw that guy under the jail. We're not hearing that, like, from what's been presented so far. So they may be able to just kind of connect a mass of relatively mild charges, prove those elements, satisfy the requirements of RICO, and get a conviction. But I don't, again, you're spending an absolute ton of money to do what in the long run?
Yeah, and as of right now, by all accounts, different lawyers, people that are in the building, they're saying that Diddy and his team are, like, sort of winning, if you will, right now.
Yeah.
Because Cassie is the star witness. They had to move her up because she's pregnant, but she's the star witness. And like Pink, as Pink is saying, she hasn't really said anything yet that is criminal per se, and that is because the domestic violence stuff is out of question.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, we already saw that video
anyway.
We saw that, we orbed it. We know it's shitty on his part, but you're not giving us anything new in terms of really proving anything that is going to add a wow factor to it.
And what are you going to build up to? Like, if she's the star witness, what else is there to kind of corroborate or to push them over the edge to say, okay, yeah, we're we find him guilty. So
yeah, I mean, that's the real thing. I mean, like, typically my thought with the a jury trial is, you want to lead with something big, because if you don't get the jury's attention early, you may never get it at all. They'll just be annoyed that they're there. And to have her come out and offer the testimony, like, while it's salacious, it doesn't reek of like kind of like an offensive criminality that I think would get people riled up that something has to be done with this guy. And I think that so far, that's why I would tend to agree the defense is not a bad position. I mean, they're taking some hits, but nothing's really, like, damaging them as far as this goes.
Yeah. Now my thing as well is, like, if he gets out, how will these parties continue? I mean, he's just going to be, he's going to be lonely, lonely.
Nobody's going to any of those parties.
Like, it's over with.
Nobody to go to any
He's going to be
party.
calling people. Nobody's going to be picking up. What is he going to do with himself? He's going to probably wish he just was in jail. Yeah. I mean, that was his entire life.
Yeah.
Music and party.
Yeah.
And the music has been done for a while. He just had the parties.
Yeah.